Hi, this is Kara McNall, and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! And today we're going to show you how to create this card using the Painted Harvest stamp set. So let's get started. Today we're working with a card base that's garden green, and it is cut 8.5 by 5.5 and scored at 4 1/4. So what we're going to do is take our Stampin' Purist mat, and we're going to do a little stamping, and we're going to be doing tone on tone. And we'll start with garden green, and we'll be using the fern stamp, and we're going to do a little stamping off first. So we'll ink up the stamp, press on our scratch paper, and then just stamp on the card base. So we're just going to go around. Make sure your patterns are not going the same way. We're just going to fill up the area all the way around. And we're almost done. Okay, so now I'm just going to look around. I see one place there that I didn't stamp off, but that's okay. There's no worries about that. So now what I'm looking for is around the edges. If I think there's a little bit too much green, garden green, I'll fill in with just the tip of the leaf. So let's do that over here. We'll stamp off and then stamp on. Just fill up this area. Okay, so I think I'm just in case, I'm just going to put a few going in here. So I don't want any of that showing. Okay, good enough. Okay, so our next step is to take a piece of chocolate chip cardstock, and this is cut 3 1/8 by 4 1/8. And I've done this ahead of time. I've used the layering squares framelits, and to save paper I've used the die, and I've cut it out with my Big Shot. So we'll use this piece for later. Our next piece is a piece of the Painted Autumn Designer Series paper, and that is cut 3 by 4. So we're just going to adhere that to the chocolate chip cardstock. And on this, it's just going to be 1/8 of an inch border on all 4 sides. Okay, we're done with that, and we'll put that aside. And now we're going to stamp our sunflower. So the colors I have chosen are Daffodil Delight and Pumpkin Pie, and for the center we're going to use chocolate chip. So when I'm going to do the 2-step stamping, I'm going to want to stamp my focal image, my inside panel, and my envelope all in the same series. So we'll start with the Daffodil Delight. And if you notice on the stamp, there's a little notch right here. So I always call that the top. So we'll just ink up the ink pad, and we'll work with the inside panel of the card. So I'm just going to create the flower up there. But what I'm going to do is, instead of just one, I'm going to do 2. So I'm just looking in the center right now. So it looks a little washed out, but we'll make it even look better. So we've got that one done. Our next one is going to be our envelope on Very Vanilla. So again, I'm just going to stamp in the corner here, ink back up, and reapply. All right, and now the focal image, we're going to take a piece of scrap of Very Vanilla, and we'll just ink that up again, same way, and one more time, and just turn our stamp. Okay, and it doesn't matter in the middle if it doesn't all line up, that's fine. Alright, so our next, we're done with the Daffodil Delight right now. Our next color is Pumpkin Pie, and this is a detailed image stamp. So we'll ink that one up. Again, there's a notch at the top, and I'm going to look in the middle and try to line up the best I can. Okay, and then again we're going to do the inside panel. See how easy this is when you do them all at the same time. And then our envelope. Okay, so now the next color we're going to use is the chocolate chip, and we're going to stamp the center of each of those sunflowers. So we'll just start with the envelope, and we'll ink it up. And then there is a little, if you notice this right here on the stamp, there is a little image there, so try to do your best to line it up. Okay, so then what I do really quickly while the ink is dry, I use my Wink Stella. I just color this in because that'll help color in the areas that did not get stamped, and I lightly go over the center of that. Okay, so our envelope is complete. We'll put that aside, and then we'll go to our panel here, our focal point, and then I'm just looking for that notch again. Okay, stamp the center, lift up, Wink Stella. See here, it's just gonna dull that area right there that just doesn't get stamped. So go over that, and then the middle gets a little bit darker. So it all blends in nicely when I use the Wink Stella. All right, our next one is the inside panel. Again, we'll stamp the center and add our Wink Stella. That one I didn't stamp very well, so we'll just push some of this ink over there just to tone it down a little bit. Okay, so that's done. And the next step is to stamp our sentiment on the sunflower. So if I'll bring in the card, so I am thankful for you is going to go on the bottom. So when I'm stamping this on the scrap paper, I'm kind of looking as to, you know, where I really want to center this. So we're going to ink it up, the sentiment, in chocolate chip. Okay. And then I'm just going to stamp, center it in the bottom here, and lift up. Okay, our next step is to use the Big Shot, and we're going to use another of the layering squares to die cut this out. So I'm going to run over to my Big Shot, and you'll hear a bunch of noise, but we'll get it cut out real quickly. Hear my squeaking table too. Okay, all right, so here we are again, and there's our image. So now we can just, I think we can just put our card together. So what we're going to do is we'll remove this out of the way, and we're just going to adhere this onto the scallop square that we created from the panel. And there's just a very small border there. Okay, so put that aside. We'll add our inside panel to the inside of the card. Just open this up. I'm not going to do any more stamping on this. You could add leaves if you want, but I'm not going to do that. All right, and then our next step is to put adhesive on the back side of this panel. That DSP is pretty too. It's the back side of the sunflowers. So now what I'm going to do is, before I really layer this on, I'm just going to place this very carefully, and I'm going to figure out what, if I turn it this way or that way, because I want one of these sunflowers here to show. So I think I'm going to go that direction. So we will just place this down here. I'm looking at all four sides. Okay, Our next step is actually we've got to do a little bit more stamping and punching. So I've taken the leaves that we used from the front of the card, and this is another two-step stamping. So I'm going to use the garden green, but I'm going to stamp off and then stamp on. And again, ink up, stamp off, and stamp on. Okay, so then the next stamp we're going to use is the same tone on tone. We're going to use the garden green again, and I'm going to stamp off. And this is just going to fill the leaves. Okay, stamp off and stamp on. Okay, great. And now we're going to take the punch right here, and this is the leaf punch that you can purchase with the stamp set. Comes as a bundle. We're just going to punch this out right now. This one I didn't stamp very well, but it'll be okay. Notice I stamped off, so that leaf didn't get fully stamped, but that's okay. We can hide it. All right. So we're going to take the focal point here, and this is where we're going to add the leaves to the back side. So we'll just add a little bit of adhesive here. And remember that leaf here I don't want shown, so I'm just going to tuck it under there. Don't want to ever see it. And then we'll do this one here. And then I'll just take a look at it. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now we're going to add some dimensionals to the back side of this focal point. And I like to add 5, 1 in each corner and then 1 in the center. Okay, and then we'll just press those down really hard with our fingers and then pull out the backing. All right, so now I'm going to look at where I want to place this, and I'm going to try to place it in the middle here with just 1/4 inch. And that looks pretty good. We'll just press that down. And one other thing I want to do is, since we got a little bit of bling here in the middle, I want to bring bling into the leaves. So we're just going to use the Wink of Stella again. And we'll just slip that up here, get the bottom one. And then if you notice, the ink is still a little bit wet, so it's actually making the leaf a little bit more green. Okay, so I'm just going to pop those up a little bit. All right, so here's our card, the outside and the inside, and the matching envelope. So I hope you enjoyed today's card. For all your Stampin' Up! Needs, please visit my website at inspiredbygram.com. Thanks for watching.